Vertigo Recovery Doctor. I'm Dr. Kevin Smith. I'm a vestibular physical therapist, and I'm going to talk about 3 mistakes you may be making when you're doing the Epley Maneuver. Now, before I get into that, if you're not sure what's causing your vertigo, make sure you check out or download my free ebook on the 5 most common causes of vertigo and how to recover from them. Just sign up for my email list, and it'll get dropped into your inbox. And hopefully that's going to be a helpful resource for you on your journey to recovering from vertigo. So the first thing that I want you thinking about when you're doing the Epley Maneuver to try and resolve your BPPV is, are you getting enough extension? So mistake number 1 is that you're not getting enough neck extension to really get those crystals to move. So that's why I put the pillow right up against your hips, and have you lay down so your head's hanging off that pillow so that you get at least 20 degrees of extension. That's what you want. Now, it's not so much about the neck extension. It's not so much about 20 degrees of your neck going back. It's about your head being at a 20-degree angle compared to horizontal. So if you have a stiff neck and you just can't move your neck back, there's still hope for you. We can, you can work with your therapist to position yourself, especially if you have that kind of thoracic kyphosis or that rounded back. You can position your body so that you don't have to extend your neck, but that you can still get your head at that 20-degree angle in order to stimulate those crystals to move. So that's mistake number 1, is not getting enough extension or not getting enough of that head tilt back to really stimulate those crystals. So mistake number 2 is when you're moving from your head being 45 degrees to the left to your head being 45 degrees to the right, you're lifting your head up and rotating. Now this is quite common and can often result in what we call a conversion from the posterior canal to the horizontal canal. So if you're lifting your head up and then rotating and then putting it back down, a lot of times those little crystals can go from the posterior canal into the horizontal canal. Then you have to do another maneuver in order to reposition those crystals from that horizontal canal. Just makes it a little bit more complicated. Let's get it done right the first time, right? So when you're rotating, the first position is head. Let's say you're treating the left side, so left posterior canal. You're going to turn your head 45 degrees to the left. You're going to lay back with your head about 20 degrees extended, and you're going to wait there for 30 seconds, or for the duration of your symptoms plus 30 seconds. And then once that time is up, then you're going to rotate to the right. Don't lift your head up. Make sure you keep your head in contact with the bed or wherever you're doing the maneuver. You're going to rotate your head to the right 45 degrees, but make sure you keep that extension. So that's the second most common mistake that I see, is that people lift their head in order to turn. And the same thing is going to go for when you are rolling from, so if we're still treating the left, you go from the left to the right, and then once you go to roll onto your right side, make sure you're keeping your chin tucked to your shoulder. So you're not going from the right side, lifting up and rolling onto your right side. You're keeping your head extended, rotate to the right, and once you roll onto your right side, you're keeping your head extended and then rolling into tucking your chin to your shoulder. So make sure you keep your head back throughout the whole maneuver. You're not lifting your head up to rotate. So that's a very common problem that people do during the maneuver. Even when I'm trying to help them, even when I have people in person, it's kind of hard to keep their head in the position that I want it, because a lot of times that's just what people want to do, is kind of lift their head up in order to rotate. So look out for that. Now, the third most common thing is that people aren't testing to figure out which canal is involved. And so the first position of the Epley Maneuver is that Dix-Hallpike test. So you can tell if you're experiencing symptoms in that first position, that's probably the side that you want to treat. Not always. If it's lasting less than a minute, it's most likely floating around in the canal, and that's the maneuver you probably want to start with, is the Epley Maneuver, because that's most of the time what's going to help with that problem of a spinning sensation lasting less than a minute in that position. Now, if you're in that position and you have more of this kind of just wooziness, heavy-headed feeling, may not be BPPV, especially if it's lasting longer than a minute. There are exceptions to it where if it lasts longer than a minute, it could be cupulothiasis, where it's stuck to the end of the canal, and there's a different maneuver that you want to do for that to knock those crystals off the cupula. And then sometimes you have to go back to Epley because it gets knocked off, then it gets floating around in the canal, and then you have to move it around the canal. But make sure that you're testing to make sure that you are treating the correct canal. So if it's the horizontal canal involved, then you need to do a different maneuver. If it's the left posterior canal, you start with the left side. If it's the right posterior canal, you start with the right side. Not one maneuver is going to work for every single person either. So just because somebody had success with one maneuver doesn't mean it's going to work for you. One, you have to be making sure that you treat the correct side. And then two, maybe you have the horizontal canal involved and not the posterior canal. And the other person had the posterior canal that said, oh, this maneuver, this somersault or whatever it is, works for me. Make sure that you're testing to figure out which canal is involved. I have a little video that I'll link to that teaches you how to test for BPPV. But those are the top three mistakes that I usually see. Is one, that you aren't getting enough neck extension. Two, people are lifting their head when they're rotating. And three, you're not testing for the correct canal before doing the maneuver. I hope this was helpful for you. If you have any questions or have a maneuver that works for you, please leave it down in the comments. I'd love to hear about it. If you need any further help, feel free to reach out or leave a question in the comments, and I'd love to chat with you. But thanks for watching, and I'll catch you next time.